Even though Nintendo is my favorite game company of all time, even I must admit that they sometimes make flat-out stupid decisions. And now that they're not doing the best financially, I thought it'd be a perfect time to make my picks for the top 5 things I feel they should do to better their business. This is a problem that Nintendo has been making, which quite honestly baffles me, which is not making games for their IPs. If you've ever played Smash Bros., you know that Nintendo has so many popular franchises, but aside from Mario, Zelda, and Pokemon, gamers are never quite sure when they'll see a new installment of their favorite series. Let's take for example F-Zero, a series that started off to show the power of the Super Nintendo, but soon became a hit, landing its sequels on the Nintendo 64, Game Boy Advance, and GameCube. But now we haven't seen a game in the high-speed racing franchise in over 10 years, with Nintendo flat out not releasing an entry on the Wii or Nintendo DS. Why, you may ask? Well, because Nintendo hasn't gotten around to making one. This is just one of many examples of Nintendo ignoring a franchise for an entire hardware generation for seemingly no reason. Now don't get me wrong, I'm not saying they should pull a Call of Duty and release a new game every year, but when you have a popular game franchise like Star Fox, Earthbound, Punch-Out, or F-Zero, why can't they release a new installment more than once every decade? When Nintendo announced the Virtual Console for the original Wii, I was really excited. Finally, they would give us a legal way of playing their huge back catalog of games without having to pull out your old system to play them. The problem was, they weren't giving us every game they've ever made, but rather 1 or 2 a week, leaving gamers with a small selection of titles until years into the Wii's life cycle, and even then they still didn't have every game. To see how ridiculous the situation is, just look at Earthbound. For years the original SNES cart was extremely expensive, leading most gamers to use an emulator to play the game. So you'd think it only makes sense for Nintendo to port the game and sell it for a profit, right? Well no, instead Nintendo took a whole 7 years to get around to releasing it, and when they finally did announce it was coming, Nintendo acted like they had no idea we wanted it. So Nintendo, why don't you just re-release all your old games so we can play them without having to resort to buying a 20-year-old cartridge or getting a ROM through illegitimate means? Because at this point you're just leaving money on the table. You'd have to be crazy to deny Nintendo's success with motion controls on the original Wii, but just because it worked once doesn't mean every system they make has to have a gimmick to sell. Just look at the 3DS. While a novel concept, the 3D feature turned out to hurt the system, with it raising the cost of production and shortening the battery life. Plus, at the end of the day, many developers haven't even implemented it well, including Game Freak. Yes, adding a feature like 3D or a second screen are novel ideas, but if they're not going to be implemented by most game creators and raise the price for consumers, they could end up hurting the system in the long run. This is more of a general opinion that many hold about Nintendo, which is that they are just overall out of touch with their fans. If we examine the recent GameCube adapter fiasco, we can see that Nintendo has no idea how popular certain aspects of their brand are. First of all, instead of allowing the GameCube controllers to work as Pro controllers with remap buttons, they instead only allowed it to work on Smash Bros., but this is beside the point. Now, if you were Nintendo and saw that for the past decade millions of gamers have been using the GameCube controller to play Smash Bros., wouldn't you make sure to make a lot of the adapters to meet demand? Well, Nintendo didn't feel so, leading to a mass shortage of adapters, causing the price of one to triple by resellers on the internet. I can go on for hours about little moments like this when Nintendo lacked understanding of their own market, but I'd be here all day. So I ask nicely, Nintendo, please take more initiative in seeing what your fans do and do not want. It may save you a lot of hassle in the future. This is probably going to be my most controversial pick on the list, and for good reason. It's been said for years that smartphones and little touchscreen games will be the end of handheld game systems. And while I don't agree with this completely, I do think that they are taking a huge chunk of Nintendo's market share, with parents buying their kids an iPhone instead of a 3DS. What I propose is that Nintendo's next handheld system have 2 models, one that's just a regular game system, but another that can be used as a smartphone. Smartphone games have always been limited by the fact that they don't have the precision of physical buttons to click, but with the Nintendo phone we would get the best of both worlds with phone capabilities and physical buttons. Think of it as an Xperia Play or Gizmondo, but actually good and with Pokemon. Well, there you have my picks for the top 5 things I feel Nintendo should do to help their business. And next week I'll go over 5 things that I hear a lot of people claim Nintendo should do, but I don't personally believe are a very good idea. So until then, thanks for watching.